Your mother's dinner parties had a dress code. The fondue pot sat in the middle of the table. The quiche came out at exactly the right moment. Guests left talking about the beef stroganoff. Somewhere between then and now, these meals disappeared from our tables. Here are 15 forgotten meals from the 1970s that are still shockingly good in 2026. Number 15. Beef stroganoff. Beef stroganoff showed up on American dinner tables after World War II. Soldiers brought the recipe back from overseas. By the 1970s, every cookbook had a version. The dish came from Russia, named after the Stroganov family, who were wealthy merchants in the 1800s. The original 1871 recipe was simple: beef cubes in a dry marinade, sautéed in butter, finished with mustard and sour cream. No onions, no mushrooms, no wine, just pure, direct flavors. American cooks changed everything. By the 70s, beef stroganoff had morphed into something different. Mushrooms became standard. Onions went in first for flavor. Some recipes added paprika for color. The beef got cut into strips instead of cubes. Cream of mushroom soup from a can became the weeknight shortcut. The sauce was supposed to be tangy from the sour cream, rich from the beef drippings, earthy from the mushrooms. When done right, each element was distinct but harmonious. When done wrong, it was a gray, gloppy mess that tasted like nothing. Most people served it over egg noodles, the wide, flat kind that soaked up the gravy. Some households used rice instead. In Russia, they served it with shoestring potatoes, thin French fries that stayed crispy against the creamy sauce. That combination sounds strange, but actually makes sense. The crispy potatoes cut through all that richness. The dish worked because it made cheaper cuts of beef tender. The sour cream sauce softened tough meat. You could use sirloin or even stew meat. Slice it thin, cook it fast, and the result tasted expensive. This mattered in the 70s when beef prices were climbing, but people still wanted meat on the table. Beef stroganoff fell out of fashion when people associated it with cafeteria food and TV dinners. The frozen versions used poor quality beef and too much flour in the sauce. Hamburger Helper made a stroganoff flavor that didn't help the dish's reputation, but make it from scratch with good ingredients, actual sour cream, fresh mushrooms, decent beef, and it's still a solid weeknight dinner that comes together in 30 minutes. Number 14. Cheese fondue. If you wanted to impress people in the 1970s, you bought a fondue pot. The whole concept came from Switzerland, but became synonymous with American dinner parties. Everyone gathered around one pot, dipping bread cubes into melted cheese. It was dinner as performance art. The original Swiss recipe used Gruyere and Emmental cheese, white wine, and a little Kirsch for flavor. You rubbed the inside of the pot with garlic first. American versions simplified it dramatically. Any melting cheese would do. Cheddar, Swiss, whatever was on sale. Some people added beer instead of wine. The important part was keeping it warm and smooth, preventing the cheese from breaking into an oily mess. Long forks were essential equipment. You'd spear a piece of bread, swirl it in the cheese, and try not to lose it in the pot. There was an unwritten rule that if you dropped your bread, you owed the host something: a kiss, a drink, washing the dishes, whatever the house rules dictated. This added an element of stakes to the meal. Fondue worked as both dinner and entertainment. People couldn't eat and ignore each other. You had to pay attention, take turns, keep the conversation going while managing hot cheese and long forks. It was social engineering disguised as a meal. The pot sat in the center of the table. Everyone leaned in. Eye contact was unavoidable. Advertisements for fondue sets were everywhere in the 70s. They showed attractive couples laughing, feeding each other cheese-covered bread. The implication was clear. Fondue meant sophistication, romance, European flair. You could throw a fondue party and feel cosmopolitan without leaving your suburb. The fondue craze died when people realized cleaning melted cheese out of a pot was absolutely miserable. The cheese would harden and stick. You had to soak it overnight. Even then, scrubbing it clean took real effort, but the concept still holds up. It's interactive, it's fun, and cheese never really goes out of style. Number 13. Quiche Lorraine. Quiche Lorraine became the brunch dish of the 1970s. Julia Child introduced French cooking to American homes through her cookbooks and television show, and this savory tart was one of the first recipes people tried. The original version came from the Lorraine region of France in the 1500s. Eggs, cream, bacon, baked in a pastry crust. That was it. The beauty was its simplicity. You didn't need exotic ingredients. Most people had eggs, cream, and bacon in their refrigerator already. Store-bought pie crusts made it even easier. Mix the filling, pour it in, bake until set. The custard would puff up slightly in the oven, then settle as it cooled. Every home cook had their variation. Some added Swiss cheese or Gruyere, even though traditional quiche Lorraine didn't have any cheese at all. Some threw in onions, mushrooms, spinach, whatever needed to be used up from the vegetable drawer. The dish was forgiving. As long as you got the egg-to-cream ratio right, it worked. Quiche represented sophistication without pretension. It felt French, European, worldly, but it wasn't intimidating to make. You could serve it at a fancy brunch with mimosas or eat a cold slice from the refrigerator for breakfast. It traveled well to potlucks wrapped in aluminum foil. The timing worked perfectly for the 70s. More women were working outside the home. Brunch became popular as a weekend social event. Quiche could be made ahead and served at room temperature. It didn't require last-minute prep or perfect timing. The dish faded when people started associating it with bland buffets and hotel conference rooms. Bad quiche is very bad. Rubbery eggs, soggy crust, too much filling that never sets properly, cheap bacon that tastes like salt licks. But a properly made quiche Lorraine, with a crispy golden crust and just set custard that still jiggles slightly in the center, is still excellent. Number 12. Chicken Cordon Bleu. This was the dish that made you look like a real cook. Chicken breast pounded thin, wrapped around ham and Swiss cheese, breaded and fried until golden. The name means blue ribbon in French, and serving it earned you one. The technique wasn't complicated. Pound the chicken, layer on the ham and cheese, roll it up tight, bread it, and fry it. The tricky part was keeping it from falling apart during cooking. Toothpicks helped. When you cut into it, the cheese oozed out. That was the moment everyone waited for. The combination of crispy coating, tender chicken, salty ham, and melted cheese worked perfectly. Restaurants charged serious money for chicken cordon bleu in the 1970s. Making it at home felt like getting away with something. You could feed 6 people for the price of one restaurant entree. It disappeared when people got worried about fried food. The dish also suffered from frozen food manufacturers making terrible versions. But make it from scratch with quality ingredients, and it's still a winner. Number 11. Pineapple Upside-Down Cake. This cake defined 1970s desserts. The presentation was built into the recipe. You arranged pineapple rings and maraschino cherries in the bottom of the pan, poured batter over them, baked it, then flipped the whole thing over. The fruit became the topping, caramelized and gooey. Dole Pineapple Company popularized the recipe through a contest in the 1920s, but it really took off in the 70s. Canned pineapple was cheap and available year-round. The cherries added color. The brown sugar created a sticky glaze. The cake itself was usually just a basic yellow cake. Nothing fancy. The magic happened during baking when the brown sugar melted and mixed with the pineapple juice. The bottom of the pan turned into a sweet, fruity caramel. Timing the flip was crucial. Too hot, and everything slid off. Too cold, and it stuck to the pan. The perfect moment was when it had cooled just enough to hold together, but was still warm enough to release cleanly. People stopped making it when they decided it was grandma food. Too sweet, too retro, too much effort for a simple cake. But try it once, and you'll understand why it lasted so long. The texture contrast between soft cake and caramelized fruit is unbeatable. Number 10. Salisbury steak. Salisbury steak was ground beef shaped into patties and smothered in brown gravy with onions and mushrooms. It got its name from Dr. James Salisbury, who promoted a meat-heavy diet in the 1800s. By the 1970s, it was a weeknight staple. The difference between Salisbury steak and a hamburger was presentation. Salisbury steak had gravy. It was served with mashed potatoes or egg noodles. It went on a plate with a fork and knife, not in a bun. Most recipes stretched the meat with breadcrumbs, eggs, and sometimes oatmeal. This made it cheaper and helped the patties hold together. The gravy was usually beef broth thickened with flour, with sautéed onions and mushrooms. The dish worked because it was filling and cheap. You could feed a family of 5 for a few dollars. It reheated well. Kids ate it. The gravy made everything taste richer than it was. TV dinners ruined Salisbury steak's reputation. The frozen versions had gray meat and gelatinous gravy, but homemade, with real beef and proper gravy, it's comfort food that delivers. Number 9. Tuna noodle casserole. Canned tuna, egg noodles, cream of mushroom soup, frozen peas, topped with crushed potato chips. This was the definition of 1970s home cooking. It was fast, cheap, and used ingredients most people already had in the pantry. The recipe became popular during World War II as a way to stretch protein. By the 70s, it was a reliable weeknight dinner. You could have it on the table in under an hour, including baking time. The potato chip topping was genius. It added crunch to a dish that was otherwise entirely soft. Some people used crushed crackers or breadcrumbs, but chips were traditional. They got golden and crispy in the oven. The dish had endless variations. Some people added diced celery or onions. Others used different soups as the base. You could swap the tuna for chicken, or even leave out the protein entirely. Tuna casserole became a punchline, shorthand for boring suburban food. But it's actually well balanced. You've got protein, vegetables, starch, and fat all in one dish. It's practical, and if you make it with quality tuna instead of the cheapest can, it's legitimately good. Number 8. Chicken a la king. This was creamy chicken and vegetables in a rich sauce, usually served over toast points, rice, or puff pastry shells. It originated in New York hotels in the late 1800s, but became a home cooking staple in the 1970s. The base was a roux-based sauce with cream, chicken stock, and sometimes sherry. Diced chicken, peas, mushrooms, and pimientos went into the sauce. The pimientos added color more than flavor. Everything was supposed to be in small, uniform pieces. The dish felt fancy because of the presentation. Ladling it into puff pastry shells or over points of toast made it look like restaurant food. The reality was it was a great way to use leftover chicken. Canned versions existed, which probably hurt its reputation. Canned chicken a la king was gloppy and oversalted. The homemade version, especially with fresh mushrooms and real cream, was completely different. It fell out of favor when cream-heavy dishes went out of style, but it's an excellent make-ahead dish for brunch or lunch. The flavors actually improve overnight. Number 7. Shrimp cocktail. Chilled shrimp arranged around a glass filled with red cocktail sauce. This was the height of sophistication in 1970s appetizers. Restaurants served it in special stemmed glasses. Home cooks used whatever they had. The sauce was usually ketchup, mixed with horseradish, lemon juice, and maybe Worcestershire sauce. The ratio determined whether it was sweet and mild or sinus clearing. The shrimp had to be properly chilled and deveined. Serving shrimp cocktail meant you had money to spend. Shrimp wasn't cheap in the 70s, especially away from the coast. It was special occasion food. When it showed up at a party, you knew the hosts went all out. The presentation was half the appeal. The shrimp hooked over the rim of the glass. The sauce sat at the bottom. It looked elegant and required minimal cooking skill. Boil the shrimp, chill them, mix the sauce. It's less common now, maybe because shrimp became more expensive or the red sauce feels dated. But there's nothing wrong with shrimp cocktail. It's still a solid appetizer. Number 6. Meatloaf with ketchup glaze. Every household had their own meatloaf recipe in the 1970s. Ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs, eggs, onions, and seasonings, shaped into a loaf and baked. The ketchup glaze on top was non-negotiable. The glaze usually combined ketchup with brown sugar and sometimes mustard. It caramelized during baking, creating a sweet, tangy crust. Some people used tomato sauce instead. The principle was the same. Meatloaf was the ultimate budget stretcher. You could add more breadcrumbs and less meat. Leftover vegetables could go in the mix. Some recipes used ground turkey or pork instead of beef. The best part was the leftovers. Cold meatloaf sandwiches were standard lunch fare. Some people preferred them to the original dinner. It became a symbol of boring suburban food, but that's not fair. A well-made meatloaf with the right balance of meat to filler, properly seasoned with a good glaze, is deeply satisfying. Number 5. Stuffed bell peppers. Hollow out bell peppers. Fill them with a mixture of ground beef, rice, tomato sauce, and seasonings. Then bake until the peppers are tender. This was standard 1970s dinner rotation material. The dish originated from various European cuisines but became thoroughly American. Most recipes used green bell peppers, which were cheaper than other colors. The filling was usually half beef, half rice to make the meat stretch further. Some versions topped the peppers with cheese during the last few minutes of baking. Others served them with extra tomato sauce. The peppers themselves became the serving vessel, which meant fewer dishes to wash. Prep work took time. You had to cook the rice, brown the beef, hollow out the peppers. But once everything went in the oven, it was hands off. And the whole meal came from one dish. People stopped making them as much when they got busy and wanted faster dinners. But stuffed peppers are actually great for meal prep. Make several at once, freeze them, bake from frozen when needed. Number 4. Waldorf salad. This started at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York in the late 1800s. By the 1970s, it was a standard potluck contribution. Diced apples, celery, walnuts, all mixed with mayonnaise. Some versions added grapes. The original recipe was just apples, celery, and mayo. Walnuts came later. The 70s versions sometimes included raisins, pineapple, or marshmallows. Every family had their variation. The crunch from the apples and celery, the richness from the mayo, the texture from the nuts, it worked together. The key was not making it too far in advance. The apples would brown and get soft. It counted as a salad even though it was mayonnaise-based and sweet. This was typical 70s food logic. If it had fruit or vegetables, it was salad, regardless of what else was in there. Waldorf salad disappeared when mayonnaise-heavy dishes fell out of favor. But it's refreshing if you use good apples and don't drown it in dressing. Make it right before serving, and it's still good. Number 3. Green bean casserole. Campbell's created this recipe in 1955, but it became a Thanksgiving staple in the 70s. Canned green beans, cream of mushroom soup, and French's fried onions. 3 ingredients, endless appearances at holiday meals. The assembly was simple. Mix green beans with condensed soup. Pour into a casserole dish. Top with fried onions. Bake until hot and bubbly. The fried onions got extra crispy on top. It was never about complexity or fresh ingredients. It was about convenience and consistency. You could make it the same way every year. Everyone knew what to expect. The dish has been mocked endlessly for being processed and artificial. Fair enough. But it fills a specific role at Thanksgiving. It's familiar, it's easy, and people actually eat it. If you want to upgrade it, use fresh green beans and make your own mushroom sauce. Keep the fried onions, though. That's the part everyone actually cares about. Number 2. Black Forest cake. This German import took over American bakeries in the 1970s. Layers of chocolate cake, whipped cream, cherries, and Kirschwasser liqueur. The name comes from the Black Forest region of Germany, famous for cherries. The traditional recipe used sour cherries, and cherry brandy. American versions often used regular cherries and sometimes skipped the alcohol entirely. The chocolate shavings on the outside were essential for presentation. Making it required skill. The layers had to be even. The whipped cream needed to be stable enough not to slide. The cherries had to be drained properly so they didn't make everything soggy. Bakeries charged premium prices for Black Forest cake. It became the go-to choice for special occasions, birthdays, anniversaries, celebrations of any kind. It fell out of favor when people decided it was too rich and too sweet. The modern palate prefers lighter desserts, but if you like chocolate and cherries, Black Forest cake still delivers. Just serve smaller slices. Number 1. Baked Alaska. This was the showstopper dessert of 1970s dinner parties. Ice cream encased in cake, covered with meringue, then torched until the peaks turned golden brown. You brought it to the table on fire, literally. The drama was the point. The science behind it was impressive. The meringue acted as insulation, protecting the ice cream from the heat. You could stick the whole thing in a hot oven or hit it with a kitchen torch, and the ice cream inside stayed frozen. Guests were always amazed. The dessert dated back to the 1800s, but it had a revival in the 70s when dinner parties got theatrical. Making baked Alaska meant you were serious about entertaining. It required skill, timing, and nerve. You couldn't make it ahead and hide it in the refrigerator. It went straight from oven to table. Most recipes used a pound cake base, layers of different ice cream flavors, and Italian meringue whipped to stiff peaks. Strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla were standard. Some people got creative with the ice cream combinations. The meringue had to be perfect or it wouldn't hold. The dish fell out of favor when people stopped having formal dinner parties. It was too much effort for casual gatherings, too complicated for weeknight desserts. But if you want to genuinely impress people in 2026, Baked Alaska still works. Nobody expects it. Everyone remembers it. These meals didn't disappear because they were bad. They disappeared because food trends move on. Fondue gave way to tapas. Stroganoff became stir-fry. Baked Alaska turned into molten lava cake. But the original versions are still worth making. Your mother knew what she was doing with that fondue pot. If you enjoyed this trip back to 1970s dinner tables, please like and subscribe. What dishes from your childhood do you wish would come back? Let us know in the comments.